Elon Musk, tech giant, billionaire, and visionary. That's probably how you know him.
Elon led a push early on to make Twitter a lot leaner.
But how do people who were once closest to him see him? Do they admire him like you do? Or are there any pissed off employees who shared a bit too much with the public?
Get fired from Twitter. I've been here 9 years and 9 months now. Same with you.
Stay till the end to find out. Let's get started. Number 1, the racial slur. This is Owen Diaz, the man who rejected $15 million from Tesla. Can you believe that? This guy worked as an elevator operator in company. He often faced racial abuse almost on a regular basis. Then, one day, somebody drew an offensive drawing in the elevator and mocked him. That's when things became too tough to handle.
We just want to be just treated and seen as equal human beings.
Must pay him $137 million over claims he suffered racist abuse at the company.
So the guy took it up with the management. Sadly, that didn't help him much, and he became the #1 public enemy in the company. He decided to leave and sue the company. That's when things got really interesting. Tesla reduced their offer from $137 million to $15 million, and that didn't sit well with Diaz. So he went to the court and opened up the trial again. News is that the two have settled, but the information about the agreement is under the wraps. Some say he settled for $3.5 million. Wow, bummer or not.
I really do believe in the vision that Elon Musk has. Is with a sustainable, and moving away from fossil fuel. But, even though I do believe in his vision, I also don't believe in the way that we're getting to the...
Number 2, the competitor. Worker turned competitor. A mistake or the best decision of his life? This is Peter Rawlinson, a guy who used to work in Tesla. The man claims that he and Musk got off to a great start. Their ideas were similar, and even their goals were the same. But as time went by, Musk changed colors. That's when Rawlinson left Tesla and started working another job.
Well, you're quite right, Matt. We've come off the third successive record quarter of deliveries, a record Q1, a record Q2, record Q3. We're assiduously working on our cost structure, and we're showing great results in that respect.
Years later, he is at the forefront, competing with Tesla with his own company called Lucid. But the end of Rawlinson's career at Tesla didn't mean an end to his interaction with Musk. They might be competing in the same arena, but neither of them shied away from starting a war of words. Musk claimed that Rawlinson was not a chief engineer of Tesla's Model S luxury sedan, despite his many interviews. He even said that Lucid would fall into bankruptcy and end up in a cemetery. On the other hand, Rawlinson thinks that Tesla used to be at the top of the food chain. Now, they have diverged from their goals and have become distracted with other things, like taking an interest in social media and politics. That has shifted their focus on a relevant thing. Do you agree with him?
Math was always my thing. My verbal SATs weren't that spectacular, but so it's much more smarter.
And what about...
Number 3, an idea fact. This is Garrett Reisman, a former astronaut and worker from SpaceX. But despite being top of his field, he sounded pretty impressed with Musk. The man claimed that Musk was the most driven and ambitious person that he had ever met. He is basically an idea factory that's always hopping on to some new goal to change the course of humanity. He isn't all about going after one thing and making it successful. He wants to do it such that it turns him into a legacy. The man admitted that Musk has his fair share of wealth to help him out do multiple things at a time. But even then, he is handling and excelling at all of those things. So, that's both commendable and shockingly fusing. Reisman went on to say that he has never met a man like Musk. Usually, smart people are good at one thing, but this guy is a different kind of smart. He can have conversations and discussions with top engineers and researchers about anything and everything. But here's the interesting thing. When he was asked if he would allow Musk to give him the Neuralink, he immediately said, no. Would you let Musk give you the brain chip?
When we have a self-sustainable colony on Mars, sooner or later. That's the prism by which he makes every single decision he makes it through that prism.
Number 4, the disappointed manager. This guy worked as a team head in a Tesla factory, and boy did he have a lot of secrets to spill. The man started off the interview pretty grim, and his tone didn't change anywhere throughout the interview. He claimed that he was laid off from the company, but his friends who are working there are in a much worse state. There are numbers upon numbers, and not enough workers to get the job done. No matter how much you put in, Musk thinks the workers can do better. But that's nothing compared to what he said next. A thing about Tesla cars became popular only recently. A customer called Tesla and told them that his overhead console keeps falling off. They gave him duct tape and a pretty bad one too. A lot of people called the objection fake, but this guy is out there claiming claim that it is all true. In fact, he even removed the tape from cars a bunch of times. What do you have to say about this?
The driver would unload the cars, and I found I found interior door panels that were not held on by anything, no clips, nothing, just tape.
Number 5, former X-employee. This woman worked as a content moderator at X, formerly called Twitter, but suddenly she wasn't a part of it anymore. She was fired. The interesting thing is that she didn't even get the news of her termination properly. She found that her accounts were blocked one day. Then the very next day, she got an email that she was fired from the job. This put her in a state of panic because she started worrying about her severance benefits. The rest of the employees who were terminated had signed an NDA, so they got their pay as well. But since she was on a contract job, she was denied the same offer. But that's how it works, right?
In her San Francisco home, with some moral support from her dog Biscuit, Melissa Engel follows the rapid-fire changes at her former employer.
On the current path, I'm really, really worried about Twitter's future.
Number 6, the legal complaint. This is a group of employees who were laid off from Twitter. What do you think they had to say? These people came in with hints of disappointment about their layoffs. None of them were told up front that they were going to get fired. A lot of them were in meetings when their accounts started getting blocked. That's when they realized what was going on. That was the case of almost 1,400 people who were terminated from the company out of nowhere. But these people weren't complaining about the termination. No, they filed a lawsuit against Twitter because the company refused to pay their severance benefit. One person was a new-time mother, and she didn't get 3 months of maternity pay from the company. Do you think all of Musk's companies have this kind of behavior?
In a recent internal email sent by new owner Elon Musk, employees have until 5 p.m. today to commit to extremely hardcore work or leave the company.
Number 7, calling out the boss. This guy teamed up with a few of his colleagues at SpaceX and decided to call out the boss. Well, you can imagine what happened next. He got fired along with his group of friends, but here's what he had to say in his defense. The man claimed that the company is focused on getting humanity as quickly as possible to Mars. If that means violating labor laws, the company wouldn't shy away from doing it. Apart from that, these guys were pretty pissed off by the way Musk was handling some dank jokes on X. That, along with his replies to allegations, made this group write a letter about Musk. Within 24 hours of the submission, the gang was fired. What do you make of this?
The factory making Elon Musk's futuristic next-generation spacecraft is a gleaming marvel of ultra-modern industrial sophistication, right? Nope. In reality, it's a flimsy temporary tent city with an on-site trailer park and no running water.
Number 8, call for sexism. Elon's companies have faced almost every allegation on the planet. This one comes with sexism in focus. The woman worked at SpaceX as an integration engineer. She claimed that her job demanded a more welcoming outlook for women that SpaceX hasn't been able to provide. Underrepresented groups should be allowed to voice their opinions and be heard. That's not something SpaceX did while she was at the company. Although the CEO of the company is a woman too, she got complaints from about 80% of the women that they were all suffering from the same thing. Whether this is a wild claim or not, I can't say. But this woman didn't really have a strengthening defense to pull against Musk and his company.
Yeah, overall my experience was, I was just working hard to, push forward like what I believe in and what are some of my core values.
Number 9, the lawsuit. Some former workers are really not happy with Musk, to the point that they are suing him. That's right, this girl is Paige Holland, and she is one of the 8 people who filed a lawsuit against Elon Musk and his company. Why, you may ask? Because of harassment. Apparently, the workplace is not entirely professional. Engaging in offensive and inappropriate jokes is pretty common out there. She went on to say how whatever Musk says on Twitter is thought to be official news and comes up as a company update. There's no separating his personal life from professional life. But then, she said something that turned a lot of heads. She claimed that she had never interacted with Musk before and has only heard of his views on Twitter. That sounds like a pretty flimsy lawsuit. What do you think?
As Elon Musk is under the microscope for his unpredictable behavior as the new CEO of Twitter, he is also facing a complaint from 8 former employees of another of his companies, that being SpaceX. Last week, they filed with the National Labor Relations Board.
Number 10, the sales guy. This former employee from Tesla had a lot of nice things to say about Musk. Meet Carl Medlock. the guy who helped get Tesla to where it is today. He was managing sales, customer support, and even helped in delivering electric vehicles in the early days. You'd think coming from that time of the company, he would have a lot of secrets to spill about Musk, but all he had was praise for the big man. He called him a nice guy and claimed that he was a good dad as well. He also praised Musk's smartness and called it intimidating. The man said that all it took was a conversation, and Musk hired him right on the spot. No interviews, nothing. But if you cross him, then you might as well say goodbye to the job right there and then. Well, can you blame him?
He works on this car. He hand tightens every single bolt on the car. I can tell. Like if I was a blind test and I said, all right, who did it? Was it Carl or was it Tesla shop, the official shop?
Number 11, all the praise. This woman worked as a former head of communications in Tesla, but she had a lot of good things to say about Musk, something that no one has ever said. Rachel Conrad claimed that Tesla was a unit of skillful workers and a strong vision. The man behind this solid foundation was Musk. He made sure that he hired only the best of people, engineers who could do the work of 100 people. That's why his ambitions were just as large too, wanting his businesses to be competitive and dominating over the other. That's something any corporate company wants out of the playing field. But the thing Conrad said next is mind-blowing. She went on to say that Musk spent a large sum of his money on Tesla when the company was going through a rough time. Not only was he seeing the dark time loom over the company, he was in the thick of it too. Despite all of that, he would bring up his credit card debt just to pay off the expenses of his worker. Now, that's something shocking about the billionaire.
When Elon now looks back on his early days as CEO of Tesla, he says he was going through a nervous breakdown. He might have been doing just that. I mean, it was really, really difficult times, right?
Number 12, straight from the factory. This woman worked in the delivery department in the Tesla factory. I'd say she had the most fun job in the company, to drive Teslas all around the city and deliver it to the person who ordered it. Despite the fun level of her job, she listed the pros and cons of Tesla in a pretty fair way. First, she talked of the pros that started with the fact that she was never micromanaged. But the one thing she talked about the most was the culture at the company. It was pretty friendly and was ideal for women because they helped her feel welcome in what is a pretty male-dominant industry. But then the list of cons came, and I bet you're not going to be very surprised. The major thing she talked about was working overtime. If you're in Tesla, then you're working overtime. It is an unspoken rule. If you fight against it, you're probably the only person talking about it. Plus, it wasn't about workers either. Everyone from the top to bottom worked holidays, weekends, and at least an hour over their shift, which was never scheduled. The next bad thing was that her position didn't seem to have a lot of growth. A lot of people there worked at the same position as hers and had been for years. They were happy to be working for the brand, but this woman needed direction, so she quit the company. What do you make of it?
Sure, it's one of the top dogs in the tech industry, but it's not your typical 9-to-5. It's actually ran like a startup tech company with not as competitive pay as other tech companies in the industry.
Number 13, sleeping in the car. Sometimes love for Musk lands you without a job and living out of a car. Don't believe me? Ask this guy. He was a worker at the Tesla factory and part of the team that built the Tesla. But things soon turned downhill when he got a strange email addressed to his personal account. He was terminated effectively. The man couldn't believe it. He went in the next day but couldn't even get past security because his ID was no longer valid. The man packed up his bags and decided to turn his car into his home for the next few months. He wasn't given any reason for his termination, like the other 14,000 workers fired in the past. Number 14, Exworkers startup. Meet the guy who pitched an idea to Tesla, and it helped him turn it into a startup. He worked at Tesla on the Roadsters for quite a while, but then a light bulb clicked and he started seeing a different company forming, a place where owners could sell their Teslas and others could buy a new pre-owned Tesla at a much economical rate.
Started in August of 2009. I got a laptop and a Roadster as a demo, and Elon said, go bonkers. And I actually did. I became the top selling salesperson in the country in 2010 and 2011.
Electric vehicles under $10,000 sounded like a dream to many, but this guy helped turn that into a reality. He only presented the idea to Tesla, and they gave the green light to him to get the job done. Years later, he did. When asked about Tesla and Musk, he admits that it is going to be pretty hard for anyone to match his level. There could be many people who want to do a lot with a car, but to do it with the same passion and ambition is what will create a competitive market in the next 10 years. Do you agree?
You said that your car that you drive right now, though, is a Model 3.
Yeah.
But you take some of the cars when you have them in inventory, especially if they're a car that you're not familiar with and you drive it for a little while to get used to it. Has there been any surprises
Number 15, difficult job. A former SpaceX employee was asked about what it's like to work with Elon Musk. All I can say is that he didn't back down. He was not hesitant to admit that Musk was a brilliant and ambitious man. He was smart, dedicated, and that's exactly what has gotten him to where he is now. But with all of that, he is also very demanding. If that means working in extra hours and giving in more energy, that's kind of part of the job. The man went on to say that if you want to work with Musk, that means giving in your 100% and sometimes even 120%. Considering his ambitions, he isn't wrong, but this workload is what has caused many people to burn out and leave. This guy did the same. He also didn't think Musk could pull off the Mars project. Do you agree with him?
The guy has a huge ambition, and he has ambitions about changing the way humanity lives. And for a lot of people, that's really spectacular and important.
Number 16, danger at X. There was a time on Twitter when everything went down the drain. It started when Musk took over the company and made some hard changes. He laid off a lot of people, and it left X with no more than 3,000 workers worldwide. It was a challenging time, yet Musk showed no remorse on his face. He even closed the offices and suspended their access to prevent any sabotage from the terminated workers. With such an unusual approach, his company is working just fine now. What would you call it? An impulsive decision or a thought-provoking?
Really, what we're seeing here is those few hardcore loyalists that decided, I will try and remain, I will try and stick it out, even though Elon Musk is doing things that I maybe disagree with, have seen this last email that you mentioned where you have to opt in to remain employed by Twitter.
Number 17, the celebration. When Musk took over Twitter, a lot of people handed over their resignation, but this bunch wanted to get fired. You see, when Musk joined, he gave an ultimatum to the worker, go hard or go home. Well, this bunch clearly took the simple route, so they huddled up together and decided to celebrate their termination.
Get fired from Twitter. I've been here 9 years and 9 months now. Same with you. How long are you here? 4 years?
Number 18, change in Tesla. This man is the 12th employee of Tesla from the earliest days of the company. He claimed that there was a notable shift in the company from when he started, but Musk is the same driven and smart man that he knew before. He has always wanted results from his worker. Trying wasn't good enough. He needed to see that his workforce was doing something. But the most unbelievable thing that this guy had to say was that he and his colleagues were often asked to follow special forces methods to get things done. If that means rising from the crowd of normal, so be it. Do you think that's the right way to get tangible results?
In my experience, Tesla was a different company at the time, as you said, but Elon, I think, is pretty much the same kind of person that he has been most of his life.
Number 19, the man turned CEO. This guy is another proud alum of Tesla. He worked at the company for 5 years as a battery. He was working on a project to give food trucks the electric juice. That's when he got the idea for an EV RV company, and his career at Tesla shaped him. It isn't all bad at Tesla, right? Number 20, a logical view. This man worked at a time in Tesla when things weren't looking good for the company. He started off in 2017, when Tesla was everywhere, but in a positive light. Soon enough, the wind shifted, and the same company was getting a lot of hate from everyone. The guy claims that it was just noise from the media. None of it was true, and the company decided to look at it that way. They continued to tune out the noise until they could give tangible results and turn the heads of the viewers again in a positive light. He claims that this relentless effort of the company is something that he will always remember.
And so I'm sure, as a lot of you already know, I joined Tesla back in July of 2017. I joined on the distribution side of the business, on the service side, really just working on making the service distribution network as good as possible.
Number 21, speed of the billionaire. Have you ever thought who would come out as the better guy? Musk, Bezos, or Gates? Well, that's something that this guy had the privilege of doing, and he claims that Musk beats them all when it comes to speed. He is much, much faster when it comes to innovating and executing his ideas. That's probably what put him on the map too. Joe Justice went on to say that Musk is definitely the most ambitious among all three of them. His speed of innovation is beyond anything that he has ever seen or heard of around him. What do you think? Do you agree with him?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the program, Brian. Yeah, I think oligarch is an accurate term to describe Elon Musk. I mean, an oligarch is a wealthy person with great political influence, and that is certainly Musk.
Number 22, confusing layoffs. This is another employee from X who also had to face the shocking news of being terminated, but the way it happened was quite confusing. First, they got a mail that there was going to be a wide layoff in the company. Not even an hour later, something weird happened. This guy was in his work meeting when his access to Slack and Gmail got revoked. He started asking around, and almost everyone saw the same thing on their screen. Only a few out of the dozen people were kept as employees while the rest fired. The only thing this guy can't understand is how were these metrics decided? To fire thousands of people requires just as much time to see if they were up to the mark. Did the evaluation even happen? What are your thoughts?
An email went out in the early hours of the UK that confirmed the sort of rumors we've been hearing for a while about there being layoffs coming. The email basically said there'd be a large reduction in headcount.
Number 23, the biographer. This guy has kept an eye on Musk for a long time. He knows the gut inside and out. What do you think he revealed about the billionaire? The man claims that Musk is a brilliant man with multiple personalities. There is the ambitious kind that allows him to switch roles from an engineer to working in operations within seconds. But he has this demonic side, this dark personality that pops up very often. Walter Isaacson spent 2 years shadowing Musk, and he claims the guy never tried to sugarcoat the experience. He would sometimes become a jerk to people in a meeting or blow up at a rocket site with no care to what Isaacson would write up. But the biographer blames a lot of it on Musk's childhood. Would you agree?
Well, there's certainly multiple Elon Musk, multiple personalities, whether it's the hardcore engineering mode that you know so well, where he can figure out how to do a battery cell, or more importantly, figure out how to do steps on an assembly line that will make the battery cell.
Number 24, the competitors. Surprise, surprise, the master of Meta revealed some shocking insights on Elon Musk. The man didn't make any bad comments on Musk. Instead, he sang praises for him. He claimed that he couldn't just judge Musk from an outside point of view. Every leader has a different way of handling things, but Musk's way of leading the company was far ahead than any other. It was more technical and allowed to bridge the gaps between engineers and management, which was pretty commendable. Mark Zuckerberg kept a pretty light tone while praising Elon Musk. Do you think he's holding back on something?
It's like running the company, you see a lot of specific nuances on things that are not apparent externally, and I often think that some of the discourse around us could be better if there was more kind of space for acknowledging that there's certain things that we're seeing internally that guide what we're doing.
Number 25, the letter. This is a journalist from a known media outlet, and he had a lot of interesting secrets to spill about Musk. The man claims that a letter was sent to almost every employee inside SpaceX to go against Musk. This tiny rebellion cost a lot of people with their jobs. The CEO, Gwynne Shotwell, had turned down the letter and called it a way to manipulate workers to sign something they didn't want. But Shotwell had also defended Musk from the harassment allegation. The lawsuit was swept under the rugs, and the case had reached a settlement. So, is the management hiding something, or is this all just a big conspiracy against the billionaire? What are your thoughts on this? Number 26, the Family Feud. Parents and wives talking about Elon Musk. What do you think he was like? Musk grew up in a pretty violent home. That was quite evident in the beginning, and those scars probably left a lot behind on his behavior. But both his parents and wives knew that he was a genius from the start. His wives claimed that he was stressed 90% of the time. He was always worried about getting bankrupt, and if it wasn't that, the media was busy ridiculing him. But when it came to his family, he gave his second wife an out. He was too stressed all the time to be sane. Does ambition come with craziness? You tell me. That's all, folks. What do you think about Elon Musk? Like every successful man, this guy has his share of bad and good workers. He is ambitious, which gives him the chance to be that intense. But is his approach right? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and hit subscribe if you haven't already. There's a lot more coming in, so stay tuned and hit the bell icon to be the first to know all about it. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.